John Maxwell is a leader that I follow. He's very big on values. And I learned from his program that I went for. He said countries like Paraguay, like Mexico, South America, that they have corruption, they have bribery, they have drugs, they have robberies. And the more he spoke, the more I kept thinking, this sounds like Nigeria. And he told us that what they discovered is that the problems where they had broken down values. Unfortunately, by the time people get into society, by the time they've gone through university or whatever, their values are formed. It's almost a lost cause. You know, when they talk about the Israelites that left Egypt, that generation had to go. They needed a new one, with a new mindset. And unfortunately, if we keep thinking Nigeria will change with the same mindset, it's not going to change. And so what they started doing is they started going into the school system and they started reorientating them, because we have a lot of homes that are not working. And before, they used to say, which home are you from? Because they used to believe that from your home, they would have taught you some values. Who is your father? Who is your mother? Because they expected you to come into society with certain values. That isn't the case anymore. Even the schools where we thought there was some hope, if you go to any public school, you won't hoping anything there. So what he said to us that they have started going into the school system, I see politics as a platform. And immediately I said, I'm going to the 17 public schools in my locality. And 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, we started the iLead program. Now, the way it works is that we are teaching the acting prefects in SS2. These guys are not yet prefects, as it were, but we're taking them through these values. We're not teaching them because it's another thing to teach. We are involving them. So we have a round table and we sit down and we say to them, we want to talk about character. And they tell me about character, and then they read certain things and then they all share, because they found out that 95% of real learning is by involvement. It's not by telling people things. So what we are trying to do over the next 8 weeks is get all these acting prefects in all the public secondary schools where people have said there is no hope for, into orientating these new values. When they get to September, when they get to SS3, when they eventually become prefects, we hope they will leave these values out and will be following through. They're going to be journaling, they're going to be telling us whenever they leave these values, they will journal it. And then by January next year, we're going to make them intentionally lead others. So at that point, they will take 5, they will take 10. So we call it Afijo 333 because there are 333 acting prefects. If 333 take a minimum of 5 of their own colleagues or juniors by the time they get to SS3, multiply that by 5 or by 10 or by however, because now they have learnt it, they have lived it, now they are leading it, they are transferring it to others. This is something I hope to check 10 years from now, what happens to these guys? I hope to check 20 years from now, what happens to them? 5 years from now, what happens to them? But in this next 1 year, we will monitor them. And it is my prayer that if it makes a difference, then Oyo State as a whole will take it up. I'm using my local government by reason of the platform I have to pilot it. And if it works, I will speak to the governor and say, okay, governor, this thing has worked. Look at their WAEC results, look at their lifestyle, it has changed. If I were you, sir, please put it as a compulsory program so that all the 33 local governments in Oyo State will live out these values and we will have a change, particularly because we're talking about the public schools, which is the schools that people have totally abandoned, and we're hoping it will bring change. So that's what we have in mind.